Welcome to Aging Insight with your host, John Ross and Lisa Schollmeyer. This program is made possible by
Welcome back to another edition of Aging Insight. I'm your host, John Ross, here live in the studio with my partner, Lisa Schollmeyer, and we are elder law attorneys right here in your neighborhood. And as elder law attorneys, what we do is we help seniors navigate through the aging process, and whether you're approaching retirement, in retirement, long past retirement, or maybe you're just caring for one of those people, we're here to make sure you have the answers to the questions that you've got so that you can navigate through this without making any big errors along the way, because that's something we see all the time. People make mistakes all the time doing this, and they do it because of a lack of knowledge. That's why we come here on Aging Insight, is to bring you that knowledge, so hopefully you won't mess anything up along the way.
That's right. And you know, John, the biggest concerns our seniors have when it comes to, the aging process, they don't want to be a burden on friends and family. They don't want to go to a nursing home or some institutional care setting, and they don't want to go broke in the process. They want to make sure they have enough money to last for them during their lifetime. And a lot of seniors even would like to leave a little bit of their legacy behind to help their children and grandchildren. So those are the biggest concerns that we see. And, we also look at it from the standpoint of those adult children who are looking out for mom and dad and want them to be as healthy and enjoy their retirement years as much as they possibly can. And so a lot of times it takes a family to accomplish, a lot of these goals. And it certainly, it's wonderful to see those cooperative, happy families. And there are quite a bit of them out there. And so today, I thought we'd talk about some of the care alternatives that families do, where we have a parent that either moves in with their adult child, or an adult child that moves in with an aging parent, so that way the care needs are met. A lot of times there's some economics involved, combining households, two can live as cheap as one. But there are a lot of things to consider before we combine households, regardless of if the parent's coming to live with a child or a child's going to live with a parent.
Yeah, now this concept of bringing a parent into the home, this is not an uncommon concept. Maybe it's more uncommon around here. But, for example, I have an elder law attorney colleague, a guy named Rajiv Nagayach. He's up in Seattle, and he's from India originally. And he often talks about how in his homeland of India, that it's very common to see multi-generational families all in one household. Now, oftentimes, they have a lot of poverty, and so a lot of times there are no other options. But the one thing about it, when he first came to America and was exposed to nursing homes, a concept that was pretty foreign to him as an immigrant from India, and he didn't like what he saw. He thought, how is it that America, this wonderful land, does such a poor job of caring for their older adults when we Indians in the third world do such a good job of keeping them in the home where they want to be. So keeping family members in the home is actually very common. It's just not very common in the United States because we do have all of these other alternatives. And as our society has progressed, we have working families, we have dual income households, and all of these other things that change that dynamic. And yet there's still a lot of people that have decided, I think what would be best for mom and dad is they come live with me.
That's right. So, when the parent and child kind of come to the conclusion that there should be some combining somehow of the households, in this area, it's actually quite common for the child or the parent to, move a mobile home or something onto the property of the other so that they're living in very close proximity. Because as that parent ages, that child may be running up and down the roads purchasing groceries and stopping by the pharmacy and going just stopping in to check on that parent, and that can get old. So at a certain point, we often have families combine their households. But the first thing to consider when we look at doing that is the adult child prepared and ready to meet the needs of that parent that's either coming to live, on their land, or, as we're combining households. It's one thing to live apart from someone and think that you know what they need, but it's something else to actually live with someone or bring them into your household and make sure that you can meet all of those needs. So that is the first consideration. Are there medical needs that you as a child need to have some information about and exposure and training to handle, checking blood sugars, taking a blood pressure, those kind of things. Are you prepared, and can you do that? So that's really the first consideration.
Yeah, so you've got to look at you kind of got to do a needs assessment, and this may be a good time, especially if you're changing locations, maybe moving to a different town where you're going to need to set up new medical care anyway. This may be a good time to get some medical advice on this, and look at what are your options. What are the care needs of this person? Because again, if your contact has been Christmas and Thanksgiving, you're not going to know what the day-to-day life of that person is, and oftentimes their needs are a lot greater than what they've been letting on.
Right, yes, because they don't want to be a burden, so they don't let on what their needs may be.
That's right.
And so often our seniors, there might be their friends or neighbors that have really helped them with some of those needs. But if they're moving in with an adult child, all of a sudden it's a 24-hour circumstance. So, but you have to go in with your eyes wide open.
Right, and once you do that, once you've seen what the needs are, then you've got to do a little looking in the mirror.
Yes.
Can you meet those needs? When you start talking about, well, does the person need help getting from one place to another, getting out of bed, getting off the couch? Do you have the strength to lift them? Do they need more supervision? Maybe they've got some Alzheimer's and maybe they're a wander risk. So they need somebody around all the time. Does your work schedule allow that? Does your family schedule allow that? So you've got to kind of mirror whatever their needs are. They need to match up with your caregiving abilities, because if they need somebody there all the time to make sure that they don't wander off, for example, if they have Alzheimer's, and you work 12-hour shifts at the plant, well, that's not going to work very well. And if you're thinking, well, you know what, I work 12-hour shifts at the plant, but my wife will be at home.
That's right.
And she can handle all of that. Are you sure that your wife or husband signed up for this little plan? So take a realistic assessment of your family dynamics and your personal situation, and can you meet those care needs that they have that we've identified?
Yeah. So now we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to continue to talk about the considerations about combining households in order that an aging parent or relative gets the care that they need. So stick with us.
As things get older, they require more care. This car and I have seen a lot of miles together, but because I take care of her, she runs just like she did in 1955. That's why I chose the Wadley Senior Clinic. With an individualized care plan designed just for me and a convenient location off Jefferson Avenue, they have everything to keep me running like new. It's not about the miles, it's about the journey. Let the Wadley Senior Clinic keep you happy, healthy, and cruising down the road of life.
Hi there, I'm Larry Sims. It's been my privilege for the past several years to be a volunteer board member of Hospice of Texarkana. And there I'm able to represent community members like you. We continually customize our end-of-life care to better meet the needs of our community. As an example, our medical director and nurse practitioner still make visits to homes and facilities. Call today to learn more about the help we can give your family. Hospice of Texarkana, the nonprofit hospice established in 1985 for the community, by the community.
Welcome back to Aging Insight. I'm Lisa Scholmeyer here with John Ross, and we are elder law attorneys. And today we're talking about the topic of combining households so that a senior person is receiving the care that they need. And, we talked about in our first section, what care is it that the senior really needs? And second, if you as an adult child or caregiver, if you are prepared, truly prepared to commit yourself to meeting those care needs, and so, the first part of that is really a skills and mental issue of, do you have the patience to care for a senior? Do your personalities, do they match up enough that you can do it? If you're harboring resentments from your childhood and teenage years, you need to work that out before you try to bring that parent into your home or move in to that home with your parent. So there are emotional issues to deal with, but there's some very practical issues to address as well, John.
Well, from a very practical standpoint, if you're talking about moving a family member into your home, is your home prepared for that? I mean, for example, do you live in a 2-story house and you're in the bedroom downstairs? Meaning the only available bedroom for that family member would be an upstairs bedroom. Navigating stairs, not very easy for a lot of seniors. So this is one of those situations where you want to look at the house and figure out what is it that needs to be done before that person comes in. Do you need to move out of that downstairs bedroom and move upstairs? Where are they going to be? Are the bathrooms set up where they can easily get in and out? So no tubs, but walk-in showers kind of situation. What are the countertop situation? Are they low enough? Can you get a wheelchair throughout the house? And you may be saying, but John, my dad's only 75. He gets along just fine. We're just moving him in because, he's kind of lonely. But that's going to change. And so are you prepared for those changes? Are you, do you have a lot of carpet? Carpet doesn't work well when you're talking about walkers. Wheelchairs. Do you have a lot of rugs? Rugs are tripping hazards. Coffee tables are tripping hazards. So this is a good time to look at the house, and if you're thinking about bringing that parent in, you've got to make it senior friendly. And if you don't, you may be causing more harm.
Yeah. You'd never imagine bringing a baby home without baby proofing a house. We don't bring a senior into a home without, senior proofing a house.
Right.
I guess is the way. And one of the things that's most often overlooked when we bring a senior into the home is, whether or not that senior is going to be able to have their own social networks and connections. If we're bringing a senior from their hometown and we're now moving into the city where you as an adult child live, that senior doesn't have those social connections in your area. So, but it's vital to a senior's psychological well-being, which translate into their physical well-being, that they have their own social connections and outlets, whether that's church or coffee with the old guys at the donut shop. is your home going to be in a location that we can start up those social connections, or continue to allow, can the friends of that senior, can they drive to where you are so that they can continue to visit and have those friend connections? Very important.
Well, and that goes a long way, along with, a lot of times the kids have moved off to the big city.
Yes.
And we may not, you may have a parent that still drives, and that's fine, but there's a big difference between driving in Texarkana versus driving in Dallas.
Yeah, it's not as big of a difference as it used to be.
Right.
but a senior that knows their way around to their usual haunts and stores and all that in your senior years, change can be an enemy. So you have to be real mindful of that.
Right, and like Lisa was saying, what you don't want to do is unintentionally create an isolation situation where the person feels alone, they feel neglected, they feel like they're a burden on you because they're not able to get out and do. And those things can have psychological issues. They can affect their mental health. They can affect their well-being, and it can affect that relationship. Because if they're not happy, then they're going to get bitter. And if they're going to get bitter, they're going to take it out on somebody, and guess who that somebody is? It's going to be you, because you're the one there. And who are they going to be telling all of that about? They're going to be telling it to your brothers and sisters about how awful a caregiver you're being there at the house, which is going to create animosity between your brothers and sisters who think you're doing something bad when in fact you're trying to do something good. You can see how this will spiral into oblivion.
It can, sure, but oftentimes, just as if there's no better caregiver for your child than you as the parent, oftentimes there's no better caregiver for your parent than that adult child. There can be some bumps along the way, for sure. So the other thing you want to make sure that you're prepared to do is, as you as the adult child, if you're still working, or if you're a stay-at-home parent with small children, do you have the scheduling to make sure that you can meet those regular health care type appointments? Do you have the flexibility to do that? Because as a caregiver, you will be, you're taking on a lot more. And sometimes if you already have a job or you already have other commitments, you end up being very stretched. And so your health as a caregiver can be affected negatively, which then makes you less capable to care for that aging parent or take care of your job or your other family members. So, I'm not just trying to be a Debbie Downer here, but you just really have to go into this eyes wide open. In theory, we would all love to be the perfect model caregiver for our children, for our aging parents, but thinking about it in theory and doing it day in, day out are different things. It can be done. Wonderful. I see wonderful families that are doing it, but it really takes an adjustment and a mindset to do it well.
That's right. Well, a couple of other things that we're going to be talking about, there's some financial issues associated with all of this and some other things, but we're going to have to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to keep talking about the last few little things that you ought to consider before moving that parent in with you. So stick around, we'll be right back.
Hi there, I'm Larry Sims. It's been my privilege for the past several years to be a volunteer board member of Hospice of Texarkana. And there I'm able to represent community members like you. We continually customize our end-of-life care to better meet the needs of our community. As an example, our medical director and nurse practitioner still make visits to homes and facilities. Call today to learn more about the help we can give your family. Hospice of Texarkana, the nonprofit hospice established in 1985 for the community, by the community.
As things get older, they require more care. This car and I have seen a lot of miles together. But because I take care of her, she runs just like she did in 1955. That's why I chose the Wadley Senior Clinic with an individualized care plan designed just for me and a convenient location off Jefferson Avenue. They have everything to keep me running like new. It's not about the miles, it's about the journey. Let the Wadley Senior Clinic keep you happy, healthy, and cruising down the road of life.
Welcome back to Aging Insight, and here Lisa Schulmeyer and I are talking about the issues related to, say, moving a parent in with you, or in some cases the child moving in with the parent, but oftentimes it's that parent moving in with the child, or at least people are contemplating this, and there's lots of things to think about. You know, can you meet their care needs? What are their care needs? Do you like each other? And notice I didn't say, do you love each other?
Right.
Because, you know, anybody who's got teenagers knows you love your teenagers. You just may not like your teenagers all the time.
That's right.
And it's the same thing, you know. Do you have some of those resentments still lingering around? Is your house prepared for a senior adult that might need a walker or a wheelchair? All of those sort of things come into play. But, you know, there's... you know, what's probably one of the biggest reasons we see people fight?
Money.
Money,
Yes.
every time. And, you know, there's some money issues going along with this sort of thing.
Yeah, sure. You know, if you combine households, you know, if you think about it, as a young adult, if you get a roommate, you expect in some manner to split the bills. But, you know, a lot of times there are assumptions made when it comes to the financial arrangements when we combine households with a senior parent about who's going to pay for what. And so those things need to be discussed and ironed out. You know, there should be no assumptions about those things. You know, a lot of times the senior may have, you know, special dietary needs. There may be some remodeling that has to be done in order to make the home friendly and accessible for that senior. Then, of course, there's just the monthly utilities and things like that. There may be mortgage notes to pay. And sometimes we have families that purchase a new and a bigger home so that they can accommodate all of the persons who are going to be living there. But who's going to pay what and in what percentage, if at all, if there's those financial expectations need to be set out and handled from the very beginning. Because I guarantee you, if you're the adult child caring for that parent and that parent insists on paying certain bills, you know, if you've got siblings, I promise there's going to be some brothers and sisters out there that think you're taking advantage of mom or dad, or you're letting that senior mom or dad pay for your bills. So you know what, if you get all that lined out beforehand, you know, it just helps keep the family dynamics on track.
Yeah, you know, and a lot of times people will say to me, they'll say, John, you know, I don't know why I need to put into writing all of this stuff with my son or daughter. That seems like overkill. We get along wonderfully. You know, we're not worried about any of these things. But, you know, it's not, it can be one for you, but it can also be for third parties. Like, for example, what happens if your plan of staying at home, you know, keeping mom at home doesn't work, and she needs something like nursing home care, and you start looking at something like Medicaid, and Medicaid says, well, why was mom giving $500 a month to daughter? That's a penalty, and they're not going to pay for mom because of that $500 a month.
That $500 looks like a gift to daughter. You know, if there's nothing in writing that says it's for utilities or a rent or something like that, then it's a gift, and Medicaid denies any assistance for that skilled care that mom now needs at this point.
Right. So remember, you know, Medicaid treats every transfer from a parent to a child as a disqualifying gift unless you can prove otherwise. And you can't prove otherwise by coming up with it when it's too late. You know, their rules are very specific. Those contracts had to have been in place at the beginning of the deal. You can't recreate them.
Right.
And so, you know, there's some serious issues there. So yeah, whether you're talking about the finances and things like that, that's a big deal. The other thing is this comes in with the estate planning, like Lisa talked about, where maybe the parent sells their home, then gives $100,000 to the child to buy a much larger home.
Yeah.
But how does that impact the siblings? Who are the owners of that house? How does that need to be structured for tax purposes and for estate planning purposes? So there's a lot of issues in there when you're talking about that. So this is not only is this a good time to figure out all of these caregiving issues and the financial issues, but it also may be a good time to review that estate planning.
Yeah, so, and finally, if you are that caregiving child and that parent has moved into your home, there may be some tax deductions that you can take, such as the dependency exemptions, if you are providing, enough of the care and support to that elderly parent to meet the IRS guidelines. So that is something else to ask your tax preparer about. If you move that elderly parent into your home, keep your records and talk to your tax preparer about that.
A lot of times we talk about putting together a team, so just in this one great idea that you had was, maybe mom ought to just come live with us.
Yeah. So
And it seems like such a simple concept.
Simple, loving.
Loving concept, and yet we've identified that there's a medical component here, that there's a legal component, that there's a tax component, that there may be other components.
There's a housing component.
There's housing. So build a team around you with doctors, accountants, and elder law attorneys to figure out how you're going to navigate all of this, and keep watching Aging Insight so that you'll learn more about these sort of things, so that you can avoid making these mistakes before you get into it too far.
That's right. So you can listen to Aging Insight Radio every Saturday on 98.5 in the Texarkana area, and you can certainly catch reruns, or if you need to watch this show again, maybe somebody take some notes or something.
That's right.
I don't know. But you can catch that on KLFI TV on the web and also at aginginsight.com. So we always look forward to bringing you this information, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
That's right. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us for this week's Aging Insight program with John Ross and Lisa Schollmeyer. This program is made possible by